back for another episode of the Socially Savvy Agent, where I have my friend, expert instructor on artificial intelligence, Justin Letheby. Tell them who you are.
Oh yeah, my name is Justin Letheby. I've been a 25 plus year trainer in technology. I'm a realtor like Carrie. I'm also a John Maxwell speaker, trainer, and coach, and an active member of associations and real estate stuff all day long. So I am not bored, is what I am.
You know, and I know you're not bored because I have been seeing you on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And I'm trying to figure out how you're doing all of this. So we reached out to you to get you on the podcast because I figured out that you are leveraging artificial intelligence for a virtual assistant. So, let's jump into it. Let's talk all things ChatGPT and a VA.
Yeah.
So go for it, Justin. Tell us how, before we even started, recording, you kind of talked to me about how you're in the car a lot. And what happens as realtors or business owners or entrepreneurs when we're in the car and we're driving?
Well, yeah, I was talking to you earlier, and one of the things that I'm fascinated enough, and I was telling Carrie early on, is the ChatGPT app came out a while ago, but it's been within the last 15 to 30 days that I went, let me try something. Because, well, let's step back. Because what troubles us is someone like Carrie or myself, realtors, whoever, if we're driving, we are losing dollars, right? We are losing dollars because, well, we're not doing anything productive. We can't get anything done. And I got to wait. And my memory stinks. So by the time I got a great idea, by the time I get home or to my office, I've already forgotten the great, amazing idea. I'm like, okay, well, shoot, this ChatGPT has an app. It actually has a little headphones that you hit on it and it talks to you. And it's actually really good. So inside the ChatGPT while I am driving, now, please understand every state has their own rules. Illinois just came out with some new rules. So please make sure you're abiding by all rules when I'm telling you this. But I'm going to tell you, I hit that microphone and I sit there and I'll do several different things depending on the day and depending on the moment. Like this morning, I was driving with ChatGPT. I got to do a script because I'm getting ready to be installed as a president for my association. And I said, hey, I need to create a funny little script interrupting my president's video and inviting them to the installation. So for 15, 20 minutes, me and ChatGPT were talking back and forth, perfecting that script. When I get done with this, I will now create the video because it's already written, already done. I just got to go and do it. So I will use ChatGPT to brainstorm with me to get things done. So I do it for tasks. What's that?
I was going to say, what's interesting about that is, you're an innovator and, you're an entrepreneur and you're someone that's always thinking. The fact that you said that when we're in the car, we're losing dollars, and the fact that you're like, I'm going to leverage ChatGPT and ask it questions and to help you think. The great thing is now it's been recorded there. So the script is already done. Now you can go back to your office and keep working.
Right.
So you're going to say something about tasks because, listen, I just hired an actual assistant and I leverage AI, but I am so interested in the concept of a virtual assistant and a task list. So tell me about that.
Well, now I will say I'm always going to leverage and lean towards an assistant, right? A person, because I just like that human interaction. I just don't have that price book right now. So for essentially free, I have a virtual assistant. I have ChatGPT. As I tell a lot of people when I train Gemini, Copilot, they do similar things. I just think ChatGPT right now is just that much farther ahead of the game. So I use it. I trust it. But I will tell it, I will look at my calendar before I get up in the morning. And when I come in, I say, okay, here are the 5 things I got to get done today. Here's some of the goals and objectives, because one of the things you got to do with ChatGPT is give it context and goals, because otherwise it's going to run rampant on you. But I will tell it, here are the goals for the day. Here are the key factors I have to get done. Let's brainstorm and figure out how I can prioritize my morning to be the most effective. And then, again, I'm just talking to it in natural language anymore at that point. And we will lay down, 10, 5, 15 tasks and do it. And then I can copy and paste and put whatever task tool I would like or whatever I do. Sometimes I'll be honest, if I really want to automate this process, I will do it in Gemini, and Gemini will sometimes take it over into my task list in Google, which is actually kind of nice.
Okay, so so you're having this live conversation with ChatGPT or Google Gemini, and you're saying, these are the things I need to accomplish, and it'll
Yep.
give you the task list. Have you taken it a step further and said, here's my list, what should I do first? Because I'm just convinced I'm self-diagnosing ADD, ADHD, and I'm every entrepreneur probably has a form of distracted by distraction. Have you asked it to prioritize what you should get done first? Maybe this is, you know what you don't want to do. Like, have you said, I don't want to do this, this, or this, but I know I need to get this done. Can you prioritize everything and tell me how long you think it might take for each task?
So yeah, absolutely. And what I will do as a trick to this, right? You have to be a person that has actually read a little bit or know some things inside the world of task management. I've read a lot of books. So depending on my mood and what I do, I will say, okay, reference GTD, getting things done, or reference Atomic Habits, or reference Pomodoro effect, right? I will say, reference this before I say this. I say, okay, here, I need you now to prioritize my task list. If you don't know, ask me questions. I need you to be my brainstorming partner, right? So I will ask it to tell me that stuff. Sometimes I'll be honest with you, the first time, because I tell everybody, AI is a 3-year-old kid and it thinks it knows better than us.
Like every 3-year-old or
3-year-old
5-year-old,
kid.
and let's not even talk about the teenagers.
Right.
Go
Let's
ahead.
not even go teenagers right now. So I tell it, and I have to, and I'll be honest, there's times I got to revisit, but I don't mind because it's, for me, I'm teaching my assistant how to be a better assistant. And I'm okay with that because you got to do it no matter if it's in person or if it's virtual. So I will do that. And yes, it will prioritize. And I have actually, you guys, I don't know if this will be video or not. I actually had it build me outlines timed for what's going on. So I know exactly how long it's going to take, what day I need to get certain steps done, and how it's going to do.
And
As
as an entrepreneur, the value of that is it tells you this, if you need to get this done, whether it's lead generation or a project working with a client, it tells you you can't do something else because this has to get done because you timed it out.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Cause I'm lousy at that. Like, as a trainer, I'm a good speaker. I'm not an amazing course writer, and I'm not an amazing instruction development person who have mastered project time management. They have mastered that. I have not, because again, I'm in the car, I'm doing other things. I got ADHD like a lot of us do, right? So that's not my skill set, but this tells me, and now I've got a Bible to live by, and I follow it. I follow it meticulously because I believe in it. So I do that a lot, but I will tell you the trick to it is you have to at least know models that you want to duplicate or mimic, because otherwise it's going to go on its own guesswork, and you do have to give it baseline parameters. We do have to use our existing knowledge base to be able to do that, or someone else's.
Right. Especially distracted by distraction, because easily we could be working and then you see something pop up on your phone and you go to look. What was the timer process? What starts with a
Pomodoro?
P? Pomodoro. My sister always says it. I always forget. I literally bought a timer that I put on my desk. And so if something pops up on my phone and I look at the timer, I won't look at my phone.
Yes.
It forces me to stay put. And I used to tell people, go use the stove, like don't get stuck on social media. I love the timer concept because then you can get more things done because you know you're under a time constraint. And we know that, especially as entrepreneurs or someone that gets so hyper focused, that you can probably get 5 hours of work done in an hour and a half because you set a timer and now you're like, I'm all in, we're going.
Well, yeah, and there's actually physical brain science behind the Pomodoro effect. We won't go down the rabbit hole of that so much, but there's actually brain science that has done. I'm sure your sister has told you this, but there's specific brain science that says we. So the one myth is we are not shorter attention span than a goldfish. We have an attention shorter than a goldfish for things we don't care about. But two, Pomodoro says we will lose focus after a certain amount of time, between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on who you are. Then you need to stand up, walk around for just 5 minutes, come back, and then refocus. It is a way of refreshing the brain because the brain just, again, distraction by distraction, we have a lot of stuff around it. Even if we're in a locked room, we're going to be distracted by our own thoughts. So you have to let the brain do what it needs to do to refocus. That's part of also, I can't think of the name, but when we pause and think, meditate, that's what meditation strategies use as well. So
What's interesting is you at the beginning you said, when we get in our cars, we're losing dollars. But you also said you can leverage ChatGPT, you could also read books. And then you said that whenever you decide to use AI, you need to have some context. So you're not just using ChatGPT to do the work, you're saying reference this book or this process so it'll help you stay on track. And you said, which you may not know, I don't know if you've ever read Guy Hendricks' books. One is called The Big Leap, and the second one that I read was called The Genius Zone. You basically just said that our thoughts will take over. And that is what he talked about with the big leap. And it's having, pausing, when you start to do something, you could easily be distracted because our attention span is low, not necessarily lower than a goldfish, but because it is just not important. And I said, or not exciting to us. And that is why I think I would have been a better high school student had I figured that out. Because if it wasn't important, I couldn't learn it, but I needed to learn it. So you can literally learn and then leverage what you learned with artificial intelligence and then switch that into a virtual assistant so you can accomplish something. So let's talk about that from a real estate agent's perspective. So now I'm a real estate agent, and let's go. I'll ask you a few different questions. I'm new and I am struggling with, I have idle time, but I know I need the business. How could I use ChatGPT as a VA if I am new?
So if it's a VA and you're trying to find new business, I always teach people how to use ChatGPT, and it's basically, I say it's 3 simple steps. First, you have to identify the context, right? So in that example, you're going to say, well, for me, I'm always a persona person, right? I think that's one of the best ways to teach ChatGPT to have context. I need you to be a lead generation specialist focusing on attracting sellers in West Chicago, Illinois, right? Boom. That's the first step. And sometimes ChatGPT will write a paragraph because it thinks it already knows what you want to do. You can ignore it, read it, whatever. Sometimes it's good brainstorming ideas. 2, you can say, okay, great. But the goal here is I want strategies to be developed to get leads in the next 30 days, blah, right? Give it an attainable goal because goals have to be measurable and timely. So give it that context. But notice I did that in 2 different steps. I don't put a long form paragraph because, again, it's a 3-year-old kid and it's only going to take the bits and pieces out of that text that it thinks matters if you write too long. And then third, I will just baby step in. And so like for that example, I will, at that point in time, it'll give me some information. Here's the goals I understand. Okay, identify 5 lead generation strategies that I could do today. If you like some, use them. If you don't. Pick the ones you like and then say, okay, let's break down the steps. Let's say I gave you 5 ideas for lead generation for sellers. Just said, okay, you can door knock, you can run an open house, you can send a postcard, you can put social media posts. Okay, well, I don't want to do any of those. Door knocking, I think I can do that one. Okay, give me, out of the first one, give me 5 steps, 10 steps that I need to do to be door knocking by July 1st, right? Now it's going to give you those steps. And the reason why I do the steps inside this conversation and why I recommend doing the steps inside this conversation is there still may be steps in there you don't like, right? For instance, maybe it says you need to print material. Well, okay, my office already has print material. I don't need to do that print material, so I can skip that step. So you can revise it. Or maybe there's something in there you don't like inside of that arena, and you can change it and modify it. But once you get those 5 steps, then you can write it out and you can have it expand more every time. I'm going to tell you, most of my experience when I teach people and I do it myself, it's usually between 5 to about 8 steps before you get the results you truly want, that you will have actionable items and steps in place to get it done, typically.
So, okay, so that's one. Let's do another one.
Okay.
So now, without going into the weeds of what we are deeming changes in our industry. Now I need to really be proficient in having the conversation with a buyer on buyer agency agreements.
Oh, yeah.
So now I need a strategy. How would I talk to this virtual assistant?
So again, same thing, context. I am trying to get my clients. So take on the persona of a real estate professional with 15 years experience, professionalized and successful in buyers, and more specifically, getting people to sign buyer's agreements. Because again, buyer's agreements have been around for a long time. It's not like they've just been around tomorrow. So people are out there. You put that context in there. You can also, I will tell you, here's a PS to that little thing. You can always take, like, if you know a coach that you like out there, Carrie Little, Marquis Lemons, whoever that might have that, you can say, utilize teachings from boom to help establish this, right? Now, be careful. I'm going to put another asterisk on that one. There are lawsuits out there right now on AI that we don't know where they're going to land for trademark and copyright privileges. There's really nothing to stand by, but we never know where government's going to land on those kind of decisions. So, but right now there's nothing wrong with it. You can take those things and put that in place. So once you do that, you're going to say the goal is to get your clients to understand and want to sign the agreement.
I love
Then
it.
you say,
you put in the persona, like you said,
right.
You ask it to give you, so the goal is to be able to understand buyer agency agreements and have a process in place to go over the buyer agency agreement by whatever date. Because then then you can, do role play with ChatGPT, and
With
then
ChatGPT, yeah.
right, you could, and then
Yeah.
identify, lead sources. So give me ideas on who I can practice with.
Yeah, who can I practice on?
Right. So
I will also say one other thing you can always do, and people forget about this. I could actually copy the buyer's agreement into ChatGPT, so it can give me a script that I can read that to them. Excuse me. I can read that to them and move forward, so I can explain it to them.
And then are you paying for ChatGPT? Do you have the full version? And that makes a difference because, there's 3 versions. We got 3.5, we got 4, and now we have 4 Omni. So, and I'm going to suggest that you pay for it, but even if you don't, you could literally leverage the document and say, can you take this document, the VA, and can you take each paragraph, depending on which state you're in and how the buyer's agency agreement looks, because you could have exclusive, non-exclusive, exclusive, but it is required. It will be required by August 17th. And let me just say this, definitely go look up competition.realtor so you can do your own research, work with your managing brokers, and work with your local and state associations so you understand how the agreement functions. But you could definitely ask it to bullet point every paragraph so you can practice having a conversation with the consumer, whether they decide to do exclusive agency or non-exclusive agency. So you can have a live conversation with ChatGPT.
If you're paying for it, you could actually just type those 2 websites into your chat too, and it will do it for you. I'm just saying.
There you go. And that's the that is the power of having a virtual assistant. For years, like I had been saving money to hire someone, and I did end up hiring someone sooner. And the value of that is that it's freed up time. But the idea of being able to have a virtual assistant using AI for about $20 a month, it's worth every penny. So let me say this. I would say having ChatGPT and Canva's about $120 for a year. It's worth the $10 a month if you pay up front. ChatGPT is $20 a month. It's worth every penny because when we started selling real estate, it costed us so much more money to advertise. It's worth, just stay out of Starbucks for about a week and you'll be able to pay for it. You already know. So let's do this before we end. Give us, or anyone that's listening or watching, 3 ways they can leverage ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Copilot, or maybe even Perplexity.ai as a virtual assistant.
So we hit on a couple of them, but I'm gonna go a little different route. But I will start with the first one. I think it's one of the best tools to prioritize and designate your task list for the day to keep you super focused. I think that's an extremely good way to do this. 2, I love it because I think we're all content creators, even realtors these days, but that is not your best dollar per hour. So backstepping for 30 seconds, I always teach people that AI / your virtual assistant is to be used for the spots that you are weak in or not your best dollar per hour spent. So most realtors are good at networking, in-person, hand-to-hand combats, showings, negotiating, things like that, things that AI currently cannot even come close to doing. So use it to build your social media content. You may have to do the video, but you can have it build your video. So 1, prioritize your list. 2, build social media or prioritize yourself, social media content. The third thing I will say typically that I am using it for right now, and I think it's one of the best things underutilized, is let it being your brainstorm buddy. Let that tool help you come through, especially when you're getting the brain fog and you don't know what you need to be doing on. Let it be that brainstorm buddy, which I know when we were talking earlier, your sister would call it the coach. And I think that's another way to look at that brainstorm buddy is also it's your coach.
So for those of you that are not following Justin, I'm going to make sure he shares with you how to follow him. Yep. And I want you to make sure you go into the description to get his free ebook on mastering AI for real estate. So Justin, tell everyone how they can find you, and then maybe, you know, they can subscribe to your YouTube channel.
So I do have a YouTube channel, Justin Letheby. Just search for it. You'll see it. It's got hundreds of videos out since the first of the year because of great AI tools that are there these days. TikTok is Justin Letheby as well. Those are the 2 big ones. I do play a little bit on Instagram, but mostly it's YouTube and TikTok. Or my website, thejblteam.com, has pretty much all the stuff in there in podcast or blog format. So that's where you would find me.
Okay, so thanks, Justin. I am Carrie Little, the host of The Socially Savvy Agent and your host of Coffee with Carrie every Friday at 9:05 a.m. Central over on Instagram. Thank you, everyone, for watching.